You are listening to
The SHREDcast.
No tendies, baby.
It's the health code for snowboarders.
Let's send it.
Welcome back to the SHREDcast, everyone. I am so stoked because today we have Chase Onken, who is an avid snowboarder and has started Chasing Performance, which is a sick name, by the way. But basically, he got his start through strength and conditioning by playing football. He was a D1 athlete in college and eventually took that knowledge of strength and conditioning to football and moved out to the mountains and is now trying to implement the same concepts to snowboarders, which I think is super sick. So I'm so stoked to have him on and talk about all this kind of stuff. How are you doing, Chase?
I'm doing great. I got my protein smoothie for my post workout, and I'm excited to talk to you, Kaylee.
So I kind of just want to get into like where you got your start. It sounds like football was kind of your life before you got into snowboarding. So do you kind of just want to talk about how you started with that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Iowa, which, if you guys know anything about Iowa, it's flat as flat can be. And so, my passion came from team sports. I played a lot of different team sports when I was younger, and football was kind of the one that really stuck with me. I love the sport to death. I worked my butt off to play at the college level and everything, and it was an incredible experience. I regret nothing, but after being out in Colorado for the last almost 6 years now, I've really my passion has translated into snowboarding. And, I tell my girlfriend and my family all the time, if I grew up out here, I'm sure I would have played football as like a team sport and everything, but I would have probably tried to pursue snowboarding at a professional and college level versus football, just because that's how much I've grown to love this sport in the last, 5 or 6 years. And so my first experience snowboarding was actually my senior year of high school. And my dad took me out to Aspen for a trip. I was super fortunate. I'd actually never, ever been snowboarding before. And he took me out to Aspen and he took me straight up. If any of you guys have ridden Snowmass before, he took me straight up the Two Creeks lift. I'd never been on a snowboard before, and
Oh
normally you
God.
take people to the bunny hill, but I didn't know that. He didn't know that. But fortunately, I hopped on and rode right down, and it just worked out. And so I think by like my third day, I think we did like a 3-day trip. I was like, trying jumps. I was doing little boxes and stuff like that, and I just fell in love with it. And it's kind of cool because I took a photo at the bottom of the mountain with like my arms out, and I was like, man, like it'd be the life to live here. And I posted it on Facebook. And last year, I was with my girlfriend at Two Creeks Lift at Snowmass, and that memory popped up on my phone, and there I was standing in the same spot that I had just moved here. Been here for like 4 years now, and I had made that dream a reality. And so it was a super like passionate like moment and time for me, and that's how I fell in love with this sport. And so um you know I still love football, but I definitely have transitioned to snowboarding and that becoming my main passion. And so
Yeah.
sorry, I got a little sidetracked with the questions, but yeah, that's how I
No,
fell in love with this sport. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, and trying to grow, the niche for strength and conditioning in the snowboarding world.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel that snowboarding is honestly just kind of this like all-encompassing thing. Like if it's something that you have a passion for, it happens so fast and you're just like, how did I even get here? But you're like, this is my life
Hmm.
now. Like the same thing happened to me. Like, I mean, snowboarding is what I did in college. I competed, but I mean, nothing fancy. We were in part of like the USCSA league, so competition's very low, but it was super fun. And yeah, same thing for me. I was just like, within first day, I was trying to pick it up. I was getting my S carbs. By third day, hitting boxes, trying to go off little side hits. Like,
Nice.
it's just so cool. Like, I mean, horribly. I look back at those videos and I'm like, holy crap. But I mean, it's just so fun when you're like, I love this and I want to progress and I can see where this can go. And it's just like the most amazing feeling, honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's artistic, it's competitive, it's challenging, I always think I'm a huge hiker. So all summer long, I just hike my brains out. And the cool thing about, snowboarding is I don't have to walk up the hill. I just get to take a lift up and see all the views and everything. I don't have to earn it, but
Yep.
and then the way down is just as beautiful, And so with hiking, I kick my own butt a little bit, but it's a little bit more rewarding on that side of things, but I still definitely team snowboarding.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so you brought up like wanting to bring strength and conditioning to snowboarding. So do you kind of want to talk about how you sparked your love for strength and conditioning and like the injuries that you may have had in football? I'm sure my boyfriend played football and the amount of concussions, it's insane. So is that like
Yep.
something that sparked it for you?
Yeah. So earlier I was talking about the performance side of things a little bit. And so for me, I grew up and I didn't really have a ton of like training for football. It's in small town Iowa a little bit. I guess I was in Des Moines, which is like the biggest city in Iowa. But I didn't have a lot of training on like strength and conditioning. My mom was a bodybuilder. And so, for those of you that do know a little bit about strength and conditioning, training for bodybuilding and training for like athletic performance are drastically different, and there are aspects of bodybuilding that we want to put into our programs and things like that, depending on your goals. If you have absolute zero muscle mass, then yeah, that might be the route that we want to go for a little bit, put a little muscle on you, and then we can convert that, and make you faster and more powerful and stronger and everything like that. But I didn't have any of that training, and if you go to Florida and Texas and these crazy places where football is life, they have premium training from the second they're 12 years old until they grow up. And so, that made me think like I never had that training. And then when I got to college, I felt like I was behind, and then I spent a lot of my career injured and on the bench because of like random things that were happening to me that I didn't even know why, it was like random injuries. And a big piece of that I credited to after I graduated and gained a lot of knowledge in the strength and conditioning world was that like, hey, a lot of this probably could have been prevented if I would have just trained for the amount of impact that I'm dealing with in football, the amount of, the cutting and the sprinting and all those different things. Like it's all so intense. And if I would have prepared my body for it better, I probably would not have been hurt so much and spent so much time on the bench. Maybe I'd still be playing football. Then my snowboard career wouldn't be as far as it is now, but that was my original dream. And so I was thinking, like, because I've been running an athletic performance facility for the last 5 years, strictly like not strictly, but team sport athletes is primary. I've had a handful of ski racers and snowboarders in there, but most of them, it's not like their primary sport. And I was thinking, I was like, God, these kids are getting incredible training for their sports and for strength and conditioning and plyometrics and you name it. And they're 12 years old. I was like, God, it would have been awesome to have this when I was a kid. And then I was like, you know what? I wonder if there's snowboarders out there that, are 23 and 20, whatever age, and they're thinking in their head, like, dude, I wish I would have had strength and conditioning, or some of those pros that are now doing it because they're like, oh, wait, I need this to be able to perform at the level of Dusty Hendrickson, Marcus Cleveland, Mark McMorris, these guys, Travis Rice. I want to ride till I was as old as I can be, And so I was like, there has to be strength and conditioning for like youth athletes and high schoolers and for snowboarding. And I did a ton of research and there's not really anything. There's me, there's you, there's Mobility Duo, which I know you guys, shout out Mobility Duo. You had them on the cast a little bit ago. I know Tommy does a little bit of stuff, but his priority is more skill based in the sport. But there wasn't much
Mountain
for
Edge
it.
Performance,
So,
Liz.
yeah. And so I figured, why not bring it to the industry? I know it's not a hot topic for snowboarders and skaters, but if it's something you're truly passionate about and we present it in the proper way, I think that's something that we can bring to the industry.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And I think it's something because you brought up like, oh, like all the big pros that are now starting to do this more and like, oh, I want to reach that level, right? And so like you have this performance training in mind, but I think it's also important to kind of bring it down. Like I mean, I'm never going to be at that level, right? I started snowboarding when I was
Exactly.
18. So it's like I'm never going to get there. I can improve to like wherever I want to be. Like there shouldn't ever be a cap, right? I never want to tell people
Yep.
like, "Oh, you're this age, you can't do this anymore." Like that's
Hmm.
truly not the case. Like maybe every blue moon there might be like an injury that actually does inhibit something that you can do, but truly I believe that no matter what age you're at, no matter how long you've been snowboarding, you can progress. And I think so many people get stuck on like, I either don't know how to progress, I don't know where I want to be, I don't know what's realistic for me. And that's where I kind of want to bring in that performance training. Even if your goal is literally just to do a 360, not to like
Yep.
go spin 15 million times off the biggest jump in the world, like
Yep.
you can still utilize training for those things, especially if you're getting older, to really like take care of those joints, build more muscle mass. And I think more so kind of taking it back to your football years and stuff like that is like, oh, I need to train for cutting, I need to train for like the impact, is like really emphasizing multiple planes of motion and like your rotation and the way that your body can handle like a really fast movement off of something. Because
Yep.
even though our feet are strapped in, similar types of forces between our knees and our ankles and our hips,
Oh
our
yeah.
core, all those kinds of things are happening. And so it seems like you see kind of like a football player doing athletic training, you're like, oh, that doesn't actually apply. But realistically, it actually can apply, maybe not in the exact same way, but having your
Yep.
body's capability to do those kinds of things will, one, help you progress, and two, help you prevent injury, which is just so huge no matter where you want to go in snowboarding, no matter what your skill level, your age. It's just like the craziest thing. And for me personally, while I do want to progress, I have these massive progression goals. More than anything, I get in my head a lot and like fear takes over a lot. And I know that that's like so common for so many people,
Hmm.
that when I'm training, it just gives me like the hope and the knowledge of like, wow, my body can do this. Like I can actually do
Yeah.
this, you know? And I like to like
Oh,
hone that in with people because I think it's so important.
oh, dude, building that confidence, obviously on the slope is one thing, but building that confidence in the weight room, it just translates to the slope even more. So when you're sitting at the top of that jump that you've been wanting to hit all year and you're like, I got this, it's because you train for it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's strength and conditioning 101, and so, you know, creating that adaptation in our bodies prior to going out and just sending it is crucial for our success as riders and for our health as riders. So
Yeah.
that's good stuff.
And just knowing that like, okay, maybe I don't have this trick on the first try, right? Because you can't replicate stuff in the gym. And if your gym exercise
Yep.
tries to mimic snowboarding, like let's be real, you're probably not hitting what you should be hitting. And
Yep.
so to me, I'm like, okay, maybe I've never tried this before. I'm probably going to eat crap, right? But I know
Hmm.
that the fall that I am going to get is not going to be nearly as bad as if I wasn't training for it, right? Because you
Exactly.
hit
Yes.
that point and you're like, my body can absorb a lot of impact. I know how to fall. I know that if I like do it this way or that way, like I'm gonna be okay 9 times out of 10.
Well, dude, and something I always tell, you know, the athletes that I'm working with right now is just like one thing I live by, well, I try to live by a principle, and I made this up, but I say KIS all the time. My girlfriend's probably laughing in the other room right now, but KIS means keep it simple, and so like for me, like if you're just doing simple strength training, you're building bone density. Okay, how often do people break bones in snowboarding? All the time, and so you might hit the same, you might fall. Let's say you train for a year and you fall, you get up, you're good. It might have hurt, it didn't feel great. You're not super stoked that you fell. But you know what? If you didn't train for that year, you might have fell and broke that bone that you landed on. And
Yeah.
because of your strength training, you didn't break that bone,
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just the behind the scenes stuff that people don't really understand or realize, and that's why people like me and you can bring the science into that, and help present it to riders in a way that they're like, all right, I'm down for it, because like we were talking earlier, you know, snowboarders and skaters and that community doesn't really love, the strength and conditioning side of things. But if we can find a way to bring it to them, that they feel that it's benefiting them and it's worth going through,
Mhm.
and it's fun, it's fun. It's fun competing or reaching those goals. It's fun challenging yourself in different ways you've never done in your life. Most of the athletes that I talked to didn't even play general sports. A lot of them just
Yeah.
skated and snowboarded, you know? And
Yep.
so introducing some of this, I don't know if you want to say cross training or whatever it is crucial to the well-being of those athletes. So
Definitely. And I think like it's super important because I always have people come up to me and they're like, well, you post about doing plyometrics and like rotational training and blah, blah, blah. Like, should I not be doing a leg press machine at the gym? Should I not be doing like a squat? Like, is that not okay? And I was like, no, like those things are great. Those things are obviously stuff that you should be doing to build that strength. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. And I think like that's what
yep.
makes snowboard training more fun because I tried to train like a bodybuilder for a long time and I just got bored. I was like, this is cool and all, but like I have no desire to compete. And so I was just like, these workouts are boring. And what sparked my interest in like snowboarding was one, obviously I want to get better at snowboarding, but I was like, these workouts are so much more fun because they're interchangeable. And I know that I'm training for something specific that I actually want to improve on. So yeah, I'm going to go do some heavy squats and I am going to go do the leg press machine, but I'm also going to be like doing plyometrics and I'm going to be seeing like how I can rotationally box jump and just different things for like isometric holds. I swear by isometric holds and so many people just are like, oh, well, I'm not lifting heavy. I'm not breaking a sweat. So this isn't doing anything for me. And I'm like, well, it's actually building your tendon capacity. So if you actually want to absorb big landings and you want to like do some really great things, then that's what you need. Like isometrics are huge for that. So just things like that are just amazing.
Yeah. No, yeah. I just recently have been introducing quite a bit of isometrics into, I always like to start in the beginning of my programs is typically, you know, I'll go through a foundational phase with my athletes and those are always involved. I'm always involving isometrics into my foundational phase. Like if I were to show you, I just put together 3 programs for 3 different riders and every single one of them is starting with isometrics, you know, and it's just because I want to build that resiliency in your tendons. I want to, well, and you got to think you're not standing up straight on your snowboard, you know, you're in a constant like squat the whole time, which is, you know, I know you're moving through it, but I mean, you're essentially doing an isometric on your board all the time. So the translation is pretty like obvious, I would say, you know, without even thinking about the tendon resiliency, the building of the muscles, everything like that, you know? So I think that stuff is, you know, that's awesome that you're putting that in your programs. I think it's hard to find coaches out there that with the proper knowledge. A lot of it's all smoke screens and kind of BS, but I think, you know, getting the right information out there for the people that we care about, the riders that we care about is crucial, I think, to bring this stuff into the industry. So
Yeah. Do you kind of want to talk more about, like, obviously you've been working at a gym, you moved to Colorado about 4 or 5 years ago, and so you've been training, but you haven't really niched down to snowboarders specifically. So you kind of want to talk about like what you have been doing, your knowledge, and why you decided to kind of switch it up recently.
Yeah. So I was the director of an athletic performance facility for the last 5 years. We had multiple programs. My 3 main programs whereas adult performance, well, sorry, I'll start with the semi-private youth, which is just going to be a comprehensive athletic performance program for youth athletes. You know, so we had group sessions. I think we had like 150 members or something like that for youth athletes. And so they would come in and they do their sessions. We go through mobility, we'd go through speed and agility session, and then we'd finish in the weight room with those athletes. And then we had an adult performance program. And so I actually created, so I made all the programs, but this was one I started a little bit later on from the youth program. And that was because, you know, I'm a firm believer that everybody's an athlete. Whether you're a 70-year-old that doesn't do much other than watch TV and walk to the gym and walk home or whatever it is, like you're an athlete in some way, or I at least want to train you like an athlete in some way. Because if there's a bear that runs out of the, you know, woods next to you, I want you to be able to run away from it, not tear a hamstring and get eaten by a bear. Now, that's obviously a super extreme situation, and I don't see that happening often. More like, you know, I go down to my car, I realize, oh, wait, I forgot my keys upstairs and I'm really late. So I've got to run up the stairs. I don't want you to run up the stairs and bust your shit when you run up
Yep.
the stairs. You know what I mean? Like you should have the ability to run up the stairs, And so something I always ask my athletes is, when's the last time you did a full sprint? Just curious,
Yeah.
and you know what 90% of them say? I don't even remember, and like that's a problem, and not that you're sprinting on a snowboard, but sprinting is an extremely high level plyometric. And whether you realize it or not, it's going to translate to your snowboarding,
Yep.
And so I had an adult program that was focused on performance as well. Now, obviously, they're not going through the volume and intensity that the youth athletes are going through, but the premise behind the program is very similar. And then my final, which was my baby, is I had a college prep program that I'd run during the summer. And this was for the sole purpose of putting high level athletes, well, not necessarily high level athletes, athletes that want to be high level into college. And so I was fortunate enough. I think not everyone was in the college prep because I had one-on-one clients, but I've put over, I don't know, 30 to 50 athletes, help them get scholarships and play at the next level. And I loved it. I loved what I did there. I really did. But I was wearing a lot of hats in that business, and I learned a lot during my time there. And I was thinking, for the last year, I was like, you know what? Like, snowboarding is where my passion is. I know that I can't live in Longmont because it's way too far from the snowboard mountains, which is what I love to do, And so I was making that trek every weekend, and I was like, I need to move closer to the mountains. I need to find a way to either get a new job or start strength and conditioning somewhere else. And I was just like, that's when I kind of had that idea of like, what, youth athletes don't really, and high school athletes, college athletes don't really train strength and conditioning for snowboarding. And so I was like, maybe I could start that. Maybe with all my experience that I've learned over the last 5 years of running a business, maybe I could start it for myself. And so that's what like drove me to do it. And it's been a while. It's been a ride for sure. Like, I do by no means have my shit together yet, but it's together a little bit,
Do
And
any of
so,
us
and
have
I
our shit
know,
together?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that's part of being a snowboarder, is not really having your shit together and kind of being a little bit rough around the edges, but and I kind of love it. So, yeah, I moved down to Golden. So I'm literally within an hour of Copper, Keystone, Breck, Eldora, Winter Park. Steamboat's like 2 hours. Aspen, which are my favorite mountains, are like 4 hours, but I use up every single one of my days at Aspen on the Icon Pass every year. But I moved down to Golden. I looked for a part-time job to help, to continue my in-person training. And so I actually found a place called Evolution PT, and they were running a snowboard and ski program that they do every winter to help athletes prepare for the season. And it's more so like adult athletes, hobbyists, stuff like that, which is totally fine. I think hobbyists should train just as much as an actual athlete,
100%.
especially for the sport. I mean, when you think about it, you're riding down a mountain on 2 pieces of wood. It's not super safe by any means at all. And you should prepare your body for that. And if you don't, in the nicest way, you're a little bit it's crazy. I'll say crazy for not training for that, And so it's smart for you to go do that. You all have to pay your bills, and you all have jobs, and breaking legs or tearing ligaments does not make paying the bills and working your job very easy. So if you don't prepare for your times out on the mountain, you're just putting yourself that much more at risk for getting hurt or for losing your job because you can't work because you wanted to go have fun snowboarding. And I want you to have fun snowboarding, but let's prepare ourselves for it a little bit. And so right now I work part-time at Evolution PT. I do one-on-one training there in person. And then I run the wintervention classes. So we do classes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the mornings, and Tuesday, Thursday in the evenings. And it's essentially circuit-based training, just because, consistency is a little up and down with people. And so I don't have like a consistent like progression for them as far as like, hey, here's your sheet. This is exactly what you need. It's a little bit more general, but it still hits the needs. We're still doing mobility. We're doing our plyometrics. We're doing our strength training. We have our isometrics in there. And then we always finish with a nice little stretch at the end. But it's pretty crazy. Even over the last month and a half, I've seen some of our adults absolutely just crushing the workouts when they came in, a month ago, and they were like, whoo, I'm feeling it, and now they're really getting after it. And so that's what I'm doing in part-time right now. And then for my personal, I run a hybrid athletic performance system for snowboard athletes. So I do virtual training and then in person. Right now, I don't have anybody that's like I'm directly working with in person. That's an actual snowboard athlete outside of, like I said, hobbyists and stuff like that. But I really want to work into trying to get with a lot of professionals. I have 3 pros that are on my roster right now. I don't want to expose them or give out their information or anything like that. So I'm going to leave those names off of the list today. But all 3 of them are just getting started with me. I'm really stoked to have them on my roster. But I'm essentially putting together remote programming for them. So I have an app and everything like that that I go through. There's hyperlinks to every exercise. It's a full encompass program. So we've got our mobility on there. We've got our strength on there. We're doing plyometrics, and it's all directly through me. I also am working on the nutrition side of things and providing them with meal plans and nutrition and all the above. Just like a football athlete, would want these things. I want these guys that want to be professional snowboarders, or maybe they just love the sport and they've got some cash and they're like, yeah, dude, this is what I want to do. Like, heck yeah. I want to take care of you. I want to make sure that you have the best product possible. And so that's what I do for my job right now. And, so far it's been a grind, but I'm hoping to expand in so many different ways. I have so many ideas, but right now I know I need to start small and create a need for this and then expand beyond that, so.
Yeah, definitely. Are you just doing one-on-one stuff with people right now? Is that like kind of where you want to start with?
Yeah, so that's what I'm starting with right now. I definitely have so I have one-on-one that's like literally like one-on-one personal. We're meeting bi-weekly. I'm creating your program custom to you, whether you're working out at home or you have a gym space. I'm going to make a workout that's programmed specifically to your availability, your time schedule, your gym and facilities you have, and then obviously like your goals. Like if I have, right now one of my riders is dealing with ankle stuff, and so I'm obviously putting in his program stuff specific to help with his ankle, and that's a huge piece for him because without a healthy ankle, he can't ride at his top level, so that's a big piece of it. But like we were talking earlier, most of these riders, every single one of them that I talked to, not one of the 3 guys that I'm working with right now has any experience in like team sports or strength and conditioning. They all kind of like do their thing here and there, but like, so even just building that foundation and like I said, KIS, keeping it simple, teaching foundational movement patterns to these guys, just like they were youth athletes or kids, like they're going to benefit so freaking much from that. And so that's what I'm working on primarily right now. I really want to get the hang of that and build my roster a little bit. But I definitely am going to have a subscription-based product as well. I actually have 2 riders right now that I'm working on putting that together for them, which is just a little bit cheaper product. You're not necessarily getting it programmed directly for you, but I'll have an at-home version and I'll have a in the gym version. And it's essentially every 4 weeks I put out new workouts that are going to be either, obviously for the beginning of the season, we're going to be season prep. And then mid-season, we're going to be in season, just like I would train a football athlete. We don't stop strength training just because we're in season. We want to maintain. And honestly, I've seen improvements with some of my athletes, even during season, and so I want to keep those guys accountable during the season because, if you're feeling phenomenal at the beginning of the season, I want you to feel phenomenal at the end of the season. And if we don't train, that's a long time. That's like 6 months, that you didn't step in a weight room. And so it's really important for us to continue that. And so I want to provide a little bit more affordable option for people that may not be trying to go pro. Maybe they're just a hobbyist like myself, who I get out, 45 to 50 days a year, but I also train my body for it, and so that I can handle that type of aggressive riding and that amount of riding, and I want to get out more than 50. I want to be out 60 and 70 and 80 days, and everything like that. So that's this currently what I'm working on is putting together that program, and then I'm gonna have a community and everything like that. So everybody's on a little Discord or something like that, so they can chat about how this person's workout went, what this happened, and then I want to provide free guides for nutrition and all that sort of stuff. So I'm really excited. Obviously, I'm still in the beginning phases, but I'm hoping to build this out. I really want to. Like I said, I want to bring strength and conditioning into the snowboard industry. I know it's there, but it's not super present. And I think providing a affordable option for athletes like you and I is just it's crucial. It's crucial. So there's actually a guy, and I'm going to give a shout out to him. His name is Dan. But if any of you guys, you snowboarders, skate, okay, he does skateboard strength and conditioning, and he's pretty
great.
much, dude, he's freaking awesome, And so, I would say if you're a big skater, give that guy a follow. Check him out because he puts out incredible information. He puts out very science-backed information and everything, which I know is really hard to navigate, especially with the amount of people trying to do strength and conditioning and all that stuff, and just Instagram and all that stuff. But he does a phenomenal job. So I'm essentially trying to do a similar thing just for the snowboarders,
Yeah, I mean, me too as well. And I kind of want to touch back on what you mentioned about like training in season, because I'm currently working on my membership as well. And it's all based on continuing in season and like workouts that you can continue to do while you're still snowboarding. And so obviously, like, we both agree, like, this is something you need to be doing. And even if you're riding a ton, as long as you're still taking like deload weeks and you're not overtraining, creating worse problems, like, I work out probably 3 to 4 days a week, even when I'm snowboarding 3 to 4 days a week. So, I mean, obviously do the math, but I try to keep it consistent, or at least move my body to some extent. Maybe I'm just working on like cardiovascular training that day, or maybe I'm just trying to, I don't know, recover, but that's still movement. Like, obviously sleep and nutrition are huge parts of recovery, but you should still be moving too. And so that's what I'm building mine out right now. So kind of want to get your input as well, and like training in season, especially like maybe from a football perspective, like they don't stop training even when they have games. So, why would you do the same for snowboarders?
Yeah. So big thing is like when we are training in season, we just got to be a little careful, like let's say our out of season, or let's say off season, if we're off season and we're trying to build strength, we're trying to build power, I'm looking to increase your performance significantly in the off season during that time. So we're going to hammer it, because your main goal or your main reason for training is snowboarding, but you can't snowboard right now. So guess what? We're going to fill that time with workouts, and training. And so, when we talk about in season, we're now talking about you doing the thing that you love. You doing the whole reason we kicked your butt in the off season was so you could do this during the in season at a very high level and do a shit ton of it, And so when we're in season, I'm not trying to kill you. I'm not trying to overdo it or anything like that, but I am trying to make sure that we're continuing to promote the same principles that we promoted in the off season, just at a lower level, And so depending on how much you ride, if you're out there every single day, guess what? We're going to have that much less for you to do outside of the mountain, but if you're out there once a week, honestly, we could probably kick your butt a little bit every week, just so when you go out there that one day of the week, you're ready to go, so like for myself, I train 4 days a week, but I'm kind of sneaky with it. So I train my lower body very much like an athlete, athletic, power, strength, plyometrics. Now don't tell anybody, but I train my upper body a little bit more bodybuilding style because I really like to look good. It's important to me. I also model part-time, so that's a big portion, not a big portion of my income, but it definitely helps me pay the bills. You know, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. So I have to make sure that this looks very model-esque, if you will. And so not that you can't look that way, but when you train a little bit more athletically, you get a little bit boxier of a shape, which there's nothing wrong with that. But for modeling, that's not what they like to see. And so I cheat a little bit by training like a bodybuilder, but I also kind of like training like that, and I like looking good. So that's custom to me. So all you snowboarders out there, you know, we'll make your program for what's custom to your goals, you know. So even doing upper body plyometrics would be huge. You know, wrist injuries and shoulder injuries are huge, and so preparing for those impacts in your wrists and shoulders, elbows, is crucial. So I do a little bit of that, but most of my stuff is going to be upper body. So I do train 4 days a week during the season, but I'm also only riding about 1 to 2 days. You know, I would say 2 days a week is how much I ride. Whereas like if you're out there 4 days a week, I'd probably have you in the weight room 1 day, maybe 2 days, I would say. And we're probably in and out in 30 to 45 minutes. And then if we could, you know, put in some mobility, obviously like prior to you going out to your day on snowboarding, you know, like, and that's something, you know, Kaylee, I would love for us, you know, we could collab on some things, but like, I would love to put out programs for like, hey, like, here's what you should do before you get out on the mountain. You know, like maybe you're sitting in your car on I-70. So I guess out in Colorado, we have I-70, which is the traffic heavy road. I'm like, what can you do in your car? So that way, when you get out of your car, you can strap in and get up the mountain, you know, and get to those back bowls before anybody else does, you know, and fun stuff like that. Because I mean, that's what it's about. You know what I mean? Like some of these guys, oh, I don't have time to warm up. Okay, well, fine. We'll make a warm up in your car. You know what I mean? At least to some level, you know? And so I think, you know, just taking care of your body and getting in the weight room, you know, 1 or 2 days a week on the off season is really crucial to maintaining that strength. You know, I've had plenty of athletes that go through, you know, their season, they're feeling great because we trained for the season. And then literally like 3 weeks into the season, that knee pain that was bothering them before we started training is back. And they're like, dude, what the heck? I thought we trained for this. I'm like, yeah, but you haven't done anything for 3 weeks, you know? So that's why that knee pain is back. That's why your ankle's bothering you again, you know? And so get them back in, continue to do those things, continue to keep those muscles awake so they know what's going on. Like, oh, hey, we're still getting after it a little bit, you know, is crucial, you know?
Yeah.
So
It's a fine balance between like movement for medicine, like keeping everything good and not overusing, because overuse injuries are huge too. So it's really finding that balance that works for you. And like, I mean, for me, I don't really ride a lot of full days. So when I say I'm riding 4 days a week, realistically, I'm riding like 2 full days just because, I mean, I got life, got a job. Got to ride half days, make it in when I can. So yeah, but I like to emphasize like, okay, 1 day is going to be my rapid response. I'm really going to be focusing on pop and also my ability to absorb and to land and my landing mechanics. And like those workouts maybe take me 30 minutes, you know, like nothing too fancy. Just get it going. You don't want to like overuse your joints and stuff. And then another day I might emphasize more strength and add in a little bit more rotation, play with that. And then my third day might be optional, you know, play around with what I have, what feels good. Just see where my movement's at.
Pumped because it feels good. Do your thing. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But I think it's super crucial for people to know that you can go and you can train 4 days a week and you can be on like a full program, and that's great. That's fantastic. I work with people that are doing that. But also, maybe that's not for you. And maybe what you need is just a little tone back something 1 or 2 days a week to just keep you moving, keep you feeling good. And that's great too. And I think like there's a big spectrum on what snowboarders, one, want to do in the gym, and two, what actually works for them, you know?
Yes, 100%. Dude, and I'll add something, you know, is like a big piece for me is like fatigue. Fatigue is okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with being fatigued, but if you're like extremely sore and you're fatigued and then you're going out and trying to ride, you're just increasing and actually doing the opposite of what we're trying to do. You're increasing your chance for injury, you know, because your body's already worn down. It needs to recover. There's already micro tears in your muscles. Your joints are already worn down. And then you go out and rip it. You're just increasing the likelihood. And so we don't want to really attack soreness, for attack soreness. We don't really want to cause a whole lot of soreness from our workouts. And we want to make sure that if there is a little bit of soreness, that we're recovering properly. So that way, when we do get out on the mountain, we're not increasing the risk for our injury. And not that you can't go snowboard when you're sore. I do it all the time. I'll be straight up. and so it's just, becoming aware of your body and knowing that, hey, you know what? I've been out here for 4 hours. I'm kind of like catching edges and messing up on things I wouldn't normally do it. And I don't know why, because like, I feel like my brain works. Yeah. I'm like, that's your body being like, hey bro, we're not working at 100% right now. We need either a break, go eat some lunch, come back out a little bit later, or, maybe call it and come out tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So
it's all super important. Like it's something that was overlooked for so long, is still overlooked. But like I said, there's different ways to go about it. Not everyone needs to be like, I think everyone should train like an athlete. Snowboarding is an athletic sport. It is a sport. It is also an art. It is also a science. There are so many aspects to it. And so by just saying it's one or the other, you're losing out on a lot. And that doesn't mean you need to be like the most gnarly person in the gym, but it does mean that you do need to be taking care of your body, and in any way that is for you. And of course, like, I think there's main ones that every snowboarder should be hitting. Like, obviously we've talked about plyometrics a lot, but I think another big thing is really just stability. And I mean, you said it perfectly, like, throw the Bosu ball away and let's actually focus on your stability with the ground, the way that your joints can actually handle things. Because when you're snowboarding, you're not on a Bosu ball. Like, hate to break it to you, but balance and stability are completely different things, and they both have their place. Balance is great, but having better balance is kind of something that comes into your proprioception, your stability, and really it's something that just comes from training your stability aspects, having good stability in your ankles, regardless of the Bosu ball. Can you just stand there and do a single leg RDL without tipping over?
Yes.
No.
Oh my God.
Don't
yes.
get on the Bosu ball.
Yes, dude. I'm with Kaylee. Yes, you are speaking my language right now. So no, I think it's funny. And I think here's the thing. Let's just talk about the Bosu ball. It's okay if you want to train and use the Bosu ball. Go have fun, dick around on the Bosu ball, do your thing, but understand that the benefits you're going to get from doing, let's just say a squat on a Bosu ball versus putting a barbell on your back or holding a dumbbell under your chin and doing a squat that way, like, you're going to build so much more strength without the Bosu ball. So what are your goals? You know what I'm saying? Like, are your goals to build strength? Because strength builds bone density, tendon resiliency, and allows you to absorb and produce force. Okay. Those 4 things are so crucial to snowboarding. Okay. Tell me the benefits from a Bosu ball. Crickets, not necessary. Yeah, exactly. So no, it's just funny. It's funny because I think it's cute, when people do that stuff, but I think it's also part of just not having the right knowledge out there. And I think that's what, you and I and Mobility Duo and some of these different strength and conditioning coaches are trying to bring to the industry to say, hey, listen, like, you're just as much an athlete as DK Metcalf or Patrick Mahomes out there on the football field. Yes, your sport is different, but like, you still need the same principles that those guys need, even like, I'm just saying, Patrick Mahomes doesn't do a 50-foot jump over a gap in like 8 rotations, but you do. So you need to be able to absorb and produce force at an extremely high level, no matter how steezy you are, So no, I think that's funny. Thanks for bringing that up, Kaylee.
No, and I mean, it's fun, and like, I'd be lying if I said I don't use the Bosu ball for certain things. Like, it's not a emphasis in my training, but something I do like with the Bosu ball is after working my stability, after making sure my muscles are firing properly, my joints feel good, I like to do like unilateral Bosu ball like power squats. So basically only one foot's
Yep.
on the Bosu ball and one's on the ground, and doing like power squats. And that's testing, can I keep my ankle stable and land? And if you're doing that and your ankle's everywhere, throw it away. Like, work on your stability first, please. But if
Exactly.
you do have
Exactly.
those mechanics and you have been working on that, then great, let's produce some unilateral force and some power in an unstable situation, because that will translate to snowboarding. But just doing a Bosu ball
Yep.
squat really won't. So I think
Well,
there's
dude, it's
definitely times and
the same.
places.
Like if you're trying to learn, let's just say you're trying to learn like a 50-50, you know, onto whatever it is, but like you're going to have a lot better time if you learn a 50-50 on a box this wide and this long than you are if you're trying to learn on a rail this skinny and like that long, you know? And it's just because it's not like no shit, Chase. I'm like, yeah. So like get your balance better or good on flat ground first before you're trying to like throw in all this Bosu ball instability, you know, stuff like that, because you're just exposing yourself to more stimulus than your body really needs right now.
Yeah.
So,
And I think it
just like
really
you
just
wouldn't.
comes down to the fact that when you're snowboarding, you're going to get better at snowboarding by snowboarding. Point blank fact. And when
Yes,
you're in the
sir.
gym, you're going to be proving your body's capability for snowboarding. You're not in there to like try and learn a 50-50. Like, truly, that's what you're going to learn on the
Exactly.
snow. So let's focus on what can
Exactly.
your body do to improve yourself to be able to do that trick or whatever it may be.
That's it. We need to quote that, Kaylee. We need to put some quotes around that and put that somewhere, because I like that. No,
We'll make a
that
t-shirt.
that was yeah, that was very well said, Kaylee. Very well said. I like that.
Cool. Well, I think this has been a really productive conversation. So I just kind of want to close it out with you talking about chasing performance, where people can find you, and the future things that you're going to be working on. That way people can go find your page, keep up with you, and if they're in the Colorado area, maybe work with you one-on-one, which I think would be sick.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Thank you, Kaylee. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I'm on Instagram. I'm trying to push out as much content as I can. I'm still getting, I'm not going to lie, I've never been a huge fan of social media and stuff. It's very much so, it's not my favorite thing in the world, but I don't,
Join the club.
I always say this. Yeah. I always say this to people. I don't want to be that grandpa that's like, oh, I don't want to text, I'm like, well, dude, it's actually like really easy and everybody does it. Like, I don't want to be that guy that's like, I hate social media. Like, no, it's gonna be here. It's gonna continue to grow in the future. So I might as well get good at it and get used to it. So I'm putting out as much content as I can while still, creating programs and working for my athletes who are actually, like utilizing this stuff. So I'm putting out content on Instagram. I have a link in my bio. I'm going to continue to, update things and put more options and stuff. But right now I have a link in my bio for an application. It takes like 3 minutes to fill out. And it's essentially just kind of asking you a few questions, like what's your fitness journey been like so far? How old are you? Where do you ride? Different things like that. Like what's your budget stuff, just so I can gauge of like, hey, what does this person need? What type of program are they going to be able to afford and utilize and everything like that? And then, I create it for you. So if you are interested in working with me or just interested in possibly working with me in any way, fill out that application and then I'll get in touch with you and then we can set something up. Right now I'm doing a consultation where I interview you essentially for about 45 minutes to an hour, figure out what you need and figure out whether, hey, you need premium, like premium one-on-one training and that's what you can afford. Great. Let's go that route. Or, hey, no, I'm more of like, I just need workouts that are generalized, like strength and conditioning for snowboarding. And I would love if you just put that out there every 4 weeks. And that's exactly what I'm doing is, so, if you're looking for more of like a general, like not hyper specific to you, I have stuff for that. And if you're looking for like, hey, I want the creme de la creme, I want to be taken care of, hold my hand, I got you on that too, and then I have the next piece that I'm really working on that I'm really excited for, and is I want to start working with clubs and academies, and so I have a lot of different I would say connections and stuff, and so Right now I'm trying to get really good at what I'm doing, but I would like to reach out, and work with clubs and stuff. So if you are a youth athlete or a high school athlete that is associated with like, Loveland Ski Club or Summit County or whatever it is, my goal is to be able to provide strength and conditioning materials and education to those guys, because realistically, a lot of those guys don't have a strength and conditioning coach. And even for the entire club, and so what they have is like skill coaches that are teaching that stuff. And hey, skill coaches, I'm not talking crap, I promise, but your level of expertise in strength and conditioning is not at the level of myself. And I know that a lot of these programs aren't going to hire me full time to run an entire strength and conditioning program. But what I can do is I can educate your skill coaches so that way they can provide the materials and the programs for those athletes, either before they go out on the mountain, during their off season, during their in season. I know some clubs and stuff have strength and conditioning coaches, but if your club is not one of those, just so you know, I'm going to reach out to that club and I'm going to get a hold of you guys, and I'm going to be putting together stuff for you guys, just so that way, those youth athletes have that foundation when they're kids, to be able to, and honestly, to grow just a passion for fitness in general. I like working out. I really enjoy it. And I know that a lot of people in this industry don't, but I think a big reason is just because they've never really done it. And so, whatever you can do consistently at whatever level it is, you're going to find some way to love it. You're going to fall in love with one piece of it. Maybe you hate the whole thing, but when you get done with that workout, you're like, damn, I feel good about myself. I feel like I did something. And that little feeling is going to bring you back for the next time, and guess what? That's passion right there, and so if I can help build that passion and create that passion, hey, we're doing something, so check me out on Instagram. I'm only going to continue to grow this thing and expand this thing. And I'm also out at Copper all the time. I'm at Eldora all the time, Winter Park all the time. I plan on trying to find a way to network out there and get my info out there. I have a lot of ideas, Kaylee, so I don't want to go off and ramble too much, because a lot of this stuff has not even I haven't even had the time to get started. But just so you know, I want to provide as much great knowledge, great education, and information for the snowboard community as I possibly can at as much of an affordable or free level as I can, while still being able to pay my bills and make sure I can buy my Icon Pass so I can go out and shred with you guys every weekend and every week. So
Yeah. No, I feel that 100%. So thank you so much for coming on, and it was really fun talking with you, and I'm sure a lot of people listening got tons of value. So definitely check the description. I'll link all of Chase's stuff down there. Thank you guys for listening to the SHREDcast, and thank you for coming on, Chase.
yeah, thanks, Kaylee.